Hello, my name is Dick Fleming. During the Vietnam War, I was a member of 1st Force Recon and Recon Battalion. I got my bush hat on to get me in the mood to tell my stories, more of my stories. So some of which I've written in a book called Chasing Charlie, and that's available on Amazon. Or you can go to my website, firstforcerecon.com, where there's additional resources about the recon community, photographs that I put on or put on from my time in the service, or other people have sent me over the years. So that's firstforcerecon.com. So when I left off the last time, I told you about the unfortunate incident where I shot a round in front of the captain's Jeep to try to stop him from going past my guard post. He was trying to sneak by and see if he could catch me sleeping or something. But that incident landed me in hot water for really the rest of my tour. I think it was an unfortunate thing that happened, and not something that I had expected, because I was getting short at the time. I probably only had about 6 weeks left in country, and the last thing I wanted was to annoy anybody. I just wanted to be left alone. But that didn't happen, because the captain probably felt guilty. You know, he was half drunk at the time, and it didn't reflect well on him. And he took it out on me, seemed to take it out on me, because every time I went through inspection, he'd come over and check me out and write me up for something. If it wasn't, my haircut wasn't high and tight enough for his liking, or didn't shave quite close enough, or my old battered M16 wasn't up to his standards, he'd write me up, and I got placed on these work parties over and over and over again. And it was unjust, and it hurt me because I knew I tried my best. I always liked to be spick and span, and I took pride in my appearance, and I made sure my weapons were in good shape. That was paramount. It got to the point where even the lieutenant, decided that he knew he was squared away as anybody, but it didn't reflect well on him either to be having me written up like this over and over by the captain. So he just eventually came up with a solution. He decided he was going to put me put me in charge of the enlisted men's club. Not put me in charge. I'd be the bartender at the enlisted men's club. Well, that sounded great to me, because on those work parties, I was often given the worst jobs, because it was sort of a quasi punishment. So they put me to burning the shit pots that we had, in the latrines. You'd pull them out of the latrine and pour some kerosene in there, and take a piece of toilet paper and light it and throw it in there, and that would immediately burst into flame and burn off all the crap in the pot there. It was a job like anyone else's, but it was probably the lowest job on the totem pole. No one liked to do it except my friend Wilson, who had also gotten short, and he would sit out there in the sun, drink his beer, and burn those pots off, and the smoke would go all over, and he'd sit there like a great big Buddha, and he got a real tan. It didn't seem to bother him at all. In fact, when he left, we made up a little sign and painted it on the side of the latrine. It goes, "Wilson Memorial Shitter." I thought when he'd see it, he'd get mad, because he was noted for having a bad temper, but he just laughed. He didn't care. he had his short timer stick, you know, which is a stick about 12 inches long and had a 50 caliber bullet on it, because he knew he was he was going to be the next one to leave. And eventually he bequeathed it to me, and I was walking around with a short timer stick. But in any case, so I had it made. I was every morning, instead of standing at attention and being berated by the captain, I was up there at the bar, the enlisted man's club, and it overlooked the parade ground. I could see everybody standing there at attention in the hot sun. And I'd turn on the music and play some Beach Boys or something. You know, I had it pretty well made. And then I'd sweep up the place and clean up everything. And when I swept up the place, I'd often sweep up money off the floor that had fallen out of these guys' pockets. So I had a pretty good gig there going, and I made sure the bar was spick and span. And in the evening, you know, I'd hand out the beer, you know, and I'd get the money and put it in a pail. And at the end of the day, I'd take it over to the staff sergeant there, the gunnery sergeant actually, and he would put it in a box that he had. Now we didn't have any cash register or anything, so I don't know where a lot of that money went. You know, they charged us like $1 for a beer, which was really high. And the gunny sergeant said that you know, we'd be getting using the extra money to be getting air conditioning in the club, or maybe a new stereo system. Well, when he left, you know, we never got the air conditioning, and he probably took half the money with him. But that's, I know, I'm cynical, right? I don't know where it went though, I'll tell you that. We never got any air conditioning or new stereo system. We didn't buy it ourselves. So anyway, I was up there every night, you know, handing out beers, and it was a pretty Spartan bar, just a plank across, you know, to serve as a counter and some chairs and tables. But it was our bar, or at least we thought it was, because the major had opened it up to an artillery group that was stationed nearby, at least temporarily. And that was a bad idea, it really was. You know, I mean, I must have, maybe, you know, it's like oil and water. You know, you have two different groups. I mean, most of the guys, you know, didn't really talk with even the other men in the platoon. Didn't even gather with the other men in the company. You know, we stayed within our teams largely, within our platoons. Occasionally, you'd make friends with somebody outside of your team. Sometimes, in particular, when we shared teams, we got to know each other better, and we became friends with people who were outside of our immediate team. But in general, you know, we stayed more or less to ourselves. And at the end of my tour, I wasn't that anxious to make friends with other people. I had seen too many of guys come in and leave, and too many of my friends have gotten wounded or killed. So I was sort of standoffish in general. You know, my opinion, just leave me alone. That's all I'm asking. Just leave me alone. I guess I projected that attitude. Well, anyway, one day I was behind the bar. It was late, and the door slams open, and in comes trouble. One of the sergeants, Pappy, you know, comes in. He was a rigger, and along with him comes his friend Uncle. I think it was a corporal. I'm not sure. And two other hangers-on of that little group within the shed there for their platoon or whatever. There were two brothers, nasty little guys. Well, anyway, they bellied up to the bar, there was artillery guy who was sitting there at the bar. I guess there were about 4 of them in there, 4 or 5. Well, some of them were standing at the bar, and this guy was sitting at one of the chairs there. And I had noticed earlier that he had a cast on his leg, a white cast on his lower leg. And Uncle goes up, swaggers up to him, and he goes, "Hey, you're in my seat." And the guy turned to look at him, and before he could even try to get up, if that's what he was going to do, Uncle took his chair and pushed it back, and the guy fell on the floor backwards. And I said, "Uncle, what the hell are you doing? Leave that guy alone. He's got a cast on his leg." And Uncle turns to me and he goes, "What'd you tell me to do?" I said, "I told you to leave him alone. He's got a cast on his leg." And Uncle goes, "You're not going to tell me anything, shithead. Who do you think you are?" I said, "I'm in charge of the bar. That's who I am. This is my bar. I don't want any trouble in it." And I certainly didn't. I didn't want to get back to, I had a rumble in the bar, I'd probably lose my nice cushy position. I didn't want to go back to burning their shit pots. That's what would have happened, I was sure. So I said, get out of here. We don't want any trouble in here. He goes, "Listen, if you're not recon. If you don't stick up for your friends, you ain't shit." I said, "Go take a hike." He goes, "I'm telling you, I'll get you for this. You and me." Okay. Get out of here. So they walked. They listened to me. I don't know. They listened to me for some reason. And the night finished up, and I was pissed because someone called you a chicken shit in the Marine Corps. Impugns your honor, so to speak. You can't let that go. You get a reputation of being a wimp, and it's all over. You might as well forget it. So I walked on down, and I was going to have it out with Uncle. He had just gotten to sleep. The lights were out, and I shook him, and I said, "Come on, let's settle this right now." And he couldn't wait. He gets up, and he goes out, and 2 of his friends, those little bastards, follow him, and they all sort of circled around me, and he turns to them and he goes, "You stay out of it. I can take care of this shithead myself." And with that, he swung a roundhouse at me to sucker punch me. Well, that's exactly what I was expecting him to do. I wouldn't have expected anything other than that. So I easily stepped back. And before he could get his balance back, I hit him. I hit him a good shot across the cheek. And I followed it up with a kick to his stomach. It was like hitting a sandbag. I didn't have my boot. I had sneakers on. I didn't have my combat boots or anything like that. It might have done some more damage. But he fell back, and he sort of rubbed his stomach a little bit. And he goes, "Karate, huh? You got to pay for that, shithead." Well, actually, I had studied karate. When I was in high school, it was a dojo down the end of Marsh Street. And twice a week I used to go down there, and they had judo and karate. And, I didn't get to be black belt, but I got to the point where I could protect myself. I was a green belt. It was pretty high up. Went white, yellow, green, brown, and black. And I was almost at the brown level. I thought when I went into the service. Well, in fact, when I went to the recruiter, when I went into the recruiting station, I had put that down on my paperwork there, and he assured me that, he goes, they'll probably make you a martial arts instructor. We don't have too many guys like you. That's what they'll probably do. They might even send you to Japan to get, your black belt and, come back and instruct martial arts. instruct self-defense, in the Marines. Well, that sounded great to me. But of course, when they made the assignments, everybody on the left, mortarmen. Everybody on the right, machine gunners. They just lied to us. What the hell, right? They didn't care. So, anyway, the fight continued, with neither one of us really landing anything. And then the uncle put his head down, and he started running from about 20 feet away like a bull. And he was a big guy. He was bigger than me. I had been down to 160 pounds at that point. About being out in the bush. He probably weighed about 210. It was 6'2". So he's running toward me with his head down like this, full bore. Well, if ever there was a chance to a judo throw in the making, that was it. Because judo works on taking the opponent's momentum against them. And when he went by, I flipped him. It wasn't an elegant throw, but it got him down on the ground, knocked the wind out of him. And before he could recover, I had switched over and put him in a judo hold that would immobilize him. I had both hands, and I was holding him down, and there was no way that he could break that hold. It was a typical floor exercise hold that we had practiced over and over and over again. And I knew he couldn't break it. But the problem was, I had his head clinched tightly, and I was holding on to his utility jacket that he had on. And I had both hands, tied up. The only thing I could do was, if I wanted to, was butt him in the head. And all he could do was sort of hit me on the back, and that wasn't going to hurt me. So there we were, intertwined on the ground. And I said to him, you can't do shit now, can you? I got you good. I said, you ready to give up? Of course, he wasn't ready to give up, He's still struggling away there. And then from the rear, I heard a voice say, "That's it, guys. That's all. Get up." And it was our gunnery sergeant, Gunny T. And so I gingerly untangled myself from that hold. And we both got up. And he goes, "All right, this is over. Shake hands." Well, I thought for sure he was going to shake my hand and then sucker punch me again. But he probably felt the same thing, so we both shook hands. And he said to me, "I'll get you for this, Fleming." And Gunny T goes, "No, you won't. No, you won't. I hear one more word from either one of you guys, and you're both going to be in court-martialed." Well, the next day I saw him. He passed by. He didn't say a word to me. I didn't say a word to him. He had a slight bruise on his cheek where I had hit him, kicked him. I was okay. I had some bruises, but nothing serious. I had seen some guys in the Marine Corps beat themselves to a bloody pulp. Beat each other 15, 20 minutes, until their faces were all battered up. So this was much as far as the fight went, but it was the one that I had. Thank you.